When I pull out my wiener, that's when the magic happens. Everybody.
What's up, Daniel? Yeah, man, needed a haircut pretty bad. Needed a haircut pretty bad. Hey, Daniel, I need you to troll that troll on my video, man. Go to that my short, and then the guy said my cutting skills suck. Troll that dude, man. I don't want to say what I want to call him. I want to call him something that I will not be able to monetize this video with. I have to be nice like a kindergarten teacher. So someone else troll the mess out of him. Even if you agree with him, just troll him. I'm working on a bunk bed ladder. These are the rungs of the ladder here. So each one of these little things fits into these rungs, and it goes onto a bunk bed set. Mehmed, you can check out my last YouTube short. It'll show you a little. It just posted today. If you're interested in what I'm doing, that'll be more descriptive. Vadim Volkov, welcome from Russia. I don't know how to say hello in Russian. I only know how to say like cheers. I guess that shows you, you know, where my priorities are. But welcome, Volkov. Privet Volkov. Welcome. Welcome. Love to have people from all different parts of the world. I know Russians are very traditional, very good woodworkers traditionally, especially functional woodworkers. In Russia, in the old days, it was said that a team of men could build like a 5 to 10 bedroom house out of logs within just a couple days. So Russians have a wonderful tradition of woodworking and wood skill, and it has to do with the amount of trees in Russia and the people's. I do believe Russian and Slavic people to be some of the most resourceful and smart people on the earth. So, welcome. Really? Well, Malone, the shirts, I do appreciate you being here. Shout out Malone, shout out Vadim. shout out Mehmet, and definitely shout out to my friend of the program, my personal friend Daniel Gandara, who is also here. Shout out to all y'all. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, I'm on a mission. The mission is take my time, but complete this bed. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. That's a very nice compliment. This is kind of the time where I just hang out, you know. Yeah, appreciate that, Vadim Volkov. It's not a lie, it's true. Whenever I have a Russian viewer on here, it makes me consider the fact that Russians appreciate good woodwork. You know, it's something that goes back in Russian tradition a long time. And so I've had more than a couple of Russian people tune in, and I always appreciate it because it makes me feel like I'm doing something if someone from Russia pops in and takes interest in what I'm working on. And in some ways, I'm kind of a part of that tradition because I'm a functional woodworker. I wasn't trained by some master cabinet maker. I was self-trained and trained by people who knew kind of what they were doing. So, and I imagine that was the way it was in Russia for many years too, that people had to teach themselves or have someone else who knew what they were doing teach them how to fabricate a log into a member of a house structure, you know. Specifically, Russians and their use of logs to build creative log cabins with only hand tools in a very short spans of time. That's the most interesting thing about it, I think. So right now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that each one of these little mortises is kind of even at the bottom. I used a router to cut them out in my router jig. Obviously my router jig wasn't designed for this project, so I had to angle the piece around the jig and more like the jig around the piece, but they turned out fine, like they hold the tenons. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip these over and use a Forstner bit and drill into the middle of each one. I have made chairs, but I have not made a chair here, if that makes sense. Yeah. This is what, let me show you, because this is like what I do here. And since I don't have that many viewers, it doesn't really hurt me to flip around the camera. Here's the bed that I'm working on right now. I gotta roll this rug back a little bit. There you see the ladder rungs, right? And here we have our 4 rungs. Each has a tenon cut a 1/4 inch off the end. And these go in here just like this. It's kind of hard to do it without a clamp, though. It has to be done with a clamp. This may not be the number 1 piece here. That one needs a little work on it, I think. This is number 2. So this one goes in this gap here. I have them numbered, so each one is individual. There's one in. Actually, they go in pretty good after I worked on them. I will put this one in, but that one will drop out. So what you have to do is you have to clamp it up with each rung in. It's going to get glued up, and it's going to get a dowel put in there too. So we have 4 individual rungs in here. Each one's going to get a dowel, a lot of contact points for the glue, but that's what we're working on right now. And I'm just kind of working the pieces to make sure that they fit well right now. I'll show you, I'm not going to put all the rungs in, but I'll show you generally the angle and stuff that it's sitting at. So you can see. I'll try to get that one in and hold it in without a clamp. I didn't plan on doing this on the lot, but I always end up doing stuff I don't plan for, so. So you see how the rungs go in just like that, right? Thank you, Hank. Welcome, Hank. What's up, Ruiz? Skills, it hurt my feelings. Right now. And since in live we just hang out a lot, I'm gonna put my boards back where they were and continue to work on them over there because that's really what needs to be done right now. I kind of like how the boards look together. You know, like I said, nothing's cut perfectly, but you see the what you call it, mortises are routed in there. And then at the end, that's where it sits over the, almost makes like a geometric shape, like a diamond. That's where it sits over the bunk bed edge. This was just something I came up with. It's not like something I didn't invent anything. This is mortise and tenon joinery, basically. That's what we're doing. Appreciate it, Mehmed. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button. And definitely stick around. And if you have to go, make sure you come back and see us and all that stuff. Monday's usually a little slower day for us. Kind of been real tough recently. So hoping we get back up to our number of views here in the workshop where we do all kinds of stuff. I also have been taking this really hot grain sandpaper or low grain grit sandpaper. And I've been working on getting the areas that kids might get splinters on sanded off because kids are going to grab this ladder. So I don't want them to get splinters. I don't want to sand it too much because I don't want to mess up where my mortises are. So what I'm just doing is just sanding the edges here. Whenever I see a rough edge, that's what I go after. Also pencil marks. I don't want pencil marks on there either. So I'm getting rid of pencil marks and any kind of rough, jagged edges that the kids could get splinters from. I could also take my router plane out and give it a run with the router plane just to make sure that the surfaces are flat. But my router plane still, I took it through, I sharpened it a bit, but I feel like it still needs more sharpening. Way down in here because I have not used it in a while. Look at that little guy. Never mind, I'm not going to get my router plane out because I don't know where it is right now. Yeah, questions. Love questions asked. I'm just evening out these mortises so that when the rungs go in there, they sit flat. I don't want any of the shoulder popping out. I've noticed that the shoulder wants to stick out on a couple, which means I didn't route them to uniform depths. So that's what told me I probably should do this. The last thing we'll do is glue these up because I think they're ready to be glued up probably. I noticed the shoulders of these housings are not straight either. I want those shoulders as straight as possible. What you working on, Hank? What you working on, Daniel? What you working on, Ruiz? What y'all doing? It's like windy with a little bit of rain, overcast. Ruiz asked, "What's the weather like here today?" Weather is, it's not beautiful. If you watch my short, I got some of it in there. It's like overcast with some wind, and obviously it's like it's not officially spring, but we got all the spring bird calls and stuff going on out here. So it's not bad. I like that it's getting a little cooler tonight because I don't do the heat well at night, and I need to adjust a little bit more. So how's your weather there? I forgot where you're at, Ruiz. Where are you at, man? What area are you in? I might get this little thing so I can take the microphone off so I don't hit it with my arm while I'm doing this. Wow, nice. For his magic card, single bay, 5 shells about 9 inches apart. Oh no, were you deployed or something, Ruiz? Is that what that is? You're a veteran, Ruiz? Said something about it. Reminded you of the trucks overseas. Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you for your service. Appreciate that, man. Ah, yeah. Yeah, I bet you do remember a couple of those. Yeah. No fun, those things. Though I am not a veteran, I've not been to Iraq ever in my life. I know that was I had a lot of friends over there. Some that probably would have made other decisions if they could have, but didn't have much choice. But yeah, I think the closest thing to a sandstorm I've ever been is I went to the Outer Banks one time when I was a little kid, the Outer Banks of North Carolina. I was about 11 or 12, and it was November. There's no swimming that was going to go on then. But I was on the beach, and the wind was blowing about 60 miles an hour, and it would take your skin off. You had to get out of it because the sand it just takes the skin off, man. The wind combined with the sand is just like a big rock tumbler. So I imagine that's kind of what it was. They probably need a little bit more sharpening. I have not been happy with my chisel sharpness recently. I did some sharpening, but I've been so busy doing other things that I haven't messed with them in a little bit. But yeah, they're due a sharpening to answer your question. They're definitely due to be sharpened for sure. No, so I guess the best answer to your question would be no. I'm not happy with my chisel sharpness because I have had a couple situations today where I was trying to use a chisel in a conventional way and it didn't work for me, and I realized that I must have either missharpened it or not sharpened it well enough. Let me get my little sound shell so I can set the microphone aside. Mic check, mic check, mic check. That's good, Daniel. I'm glad you're always happy. Yeah, did you put, Daniel, have you posted pictures of the shelf on the Discord? Well, you know, like on this ladder, he says, hell no, I'm not satisfied. Um, on this ladder, there's some things that I did. Like I spaced these rungs 10 inches apart. But when I was trying to angle the rungs to make sure that they were level, I used a special level that I had. And I noticed that they weren't straight. They weren't level from front to back. So from front to back, they weren't level. So I had to readjust the lines that I drew. And then having done that, I actually put one rung below the line instead of above the line. So I've got 10 inches, and then like 11 inches on the third one. And it's visible when you look at the ladder, but I don't think it's the end of the world. Sometimes, like my goal is always perfection. I always aim for perfection, and then I don't get mad when something turns out not perfect. As opposed to the guys like the troll that was on my YouTube, who he may or may not even do woodwork, but he says my something about my cutting skills suck. And one thing, I'm putting myself out there. So for the first part, putting yourself out there is always difficult. You're exposing yourself to all kinds of negativity. And the second thing is that I'm not a perfectionist about every last thing I do. I can't be, because I'm not a classically trained woodworker. So I have to accept that I'm going to be making some mistakes, and everything's not going to look perfect, especially the first time. By the time I routed out the third ladder rung, they started to look better, and the fourth one was much better. So the more you do this stuff, the better you get at it. And I know you guys know what you're doing. You guys have various skills. I know like Haint is a metal worker, and he's kind of an all-around craftsman, and you guys have your own expertise. There's no shame in a piece that doesn't look perfect. You know, just think of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I'm not going to get corny with it, but you know, do your best to make it perfect. Take your time. Go as slow as you need to go, like we always say. Um, which is a tenet of music. So if you ever take music lessons from a classical musician, they're going to challenge you to play it very slow, because if you can't play it musically with a slow tempo, then there's no way you could play it fast, right? So trying to learn something fast, including woodwork, is a little bit foolhardy, because your best bet is to go as slow as you can. Don't get impatient with yourself. It's easy to get anxious and antsy when you're trying to rush something. If you already know that you're going to take a slow pace and take your time on everything, then it's not a disappointment when you don't finish a project the first day, which is something that woodworkers have to accept. A good project is not going to be finished in one afternoon. So trying to grind and get in the entire project in one day is usually a mistake, unless you're doing a 1 day type project, you know? So right now I'm just tinkering, but I'm kind of looking at the edges to make sure that the shoulders are square on these. Mehmed, if you're still there, appreciate you, man. Thanks for the comment on the video. I wonder what happened to our Iranian friend. Sometimes those folks, we see them once, sometimes we see them come back, you know, it varies. I really did not want to use a router on this, but I decided it was the most effective means for cutting these tenon, these mortises. As I've told you guys, I'm not a big router fan, so making this router jig was like the first time I've ever really used this router, you know. Jigs in general, I've never been good at. Yeah, well, you know, I don't. Somebody posted. Was that Hank that posted his angle jig on Discord? Somebody posted their angle jig on there. I think that was Hank. I think that's what the angle jig is for, sharpening. If not, Hank, if you're still there, clarify to us what that angle jig was, because I was guessing at what it was the other day. I do go through the Discord. I do read you all stuff. I am attentive to you all. I do care about you all. That's really nice thing to say, Ruiz. Yeah, man. There were kids obviously on a daily basis who didn't want to leave my class and wanted to stick around, found every excuse to come back, you know. But there was also kids who I mean, I made my class was sometimes the most difficult class that a kid had in their day, and especially when we were rehearsing music for a concert, I was like a dictator in there, man. I learned from people who directed music that you cannot be a soft person with a 30-person class that is all needs to learn how to sing, and they have to stand with discipline. So I definitely was not always a nice guy as a teacher, but nice does not necessarily mean anything in this world. Appreciate it, Ruiz. Yeah, you know, and I'm a unique teacher. I told one of the last classes I taught, I said, what you all have is this, and I'm not afraid to say this. I'm the Cadillac of teachers. I know what a student needs to succeed. I know what kind of a support a child needs to learn a subject. They need to know that the person teaching them the thing cares about them. The kids that you need to teach, because some kids are going to pass through your class and they don't need you. They're going to do well regardless. Their trajectory is towards the top. Not that many, but there's a handful of these kids. The ones that are troubled and can't learn and can't figure things out, those are the ones that need you. And there's only a couple ways that you can gather those kids in. And one of them is by showing that you care. You have to show you care. But that doesn't mean being nice all the time. Oh yeah, okay. Your last Discord post was on your trunk, which I love. By the way, everybody, if you're in here, join the Discord, check the Discord out, and look at the work that Hank did on this trunk. Especially he had some metal. I want to say it was tin that he bent that has these little tin. I don't know what they call them, washers or indentions in it. He did a wonderful job on that trunk. Better, much better than the job I did on my trunk. If you ever watch those live videos, I kind of winged it with that. But yeah, check out Haint's trunk on the Discord. Haint did a great job on that trunk. Haint, what do you use the trunk for? Is it used for storage, or did you turn it into something? Uh, yeah, that's how, like, when I use that as a hamper. When I was first doing my lives, I started with the trunk restoration, and to keep the kids watching, because there was a lot of, like, they just threw random kids who were scrolling through lives on there. I would tell them that I'm pretty sure there's treasure in it, and you have to wait till the end of the live. It was like kind of like live stream clickbait. Like, I'm gonna pop the balloon. I'm gonna pop the balloon. I had to like tease them with that. It was the only way I could get people to stay in the live. So yeah, I guess the treasure is the chest. The treasure is what you learned when you made the chest. That's the treasure. The experience. This is spot number one. Let me see if I got board number one over here. Nope. That's all right. That is a little loose fitting in that. Let me see how this side fits. Yeah. That shoulder, that housing could come down a little bit over there. I'm gonna switch over to the other one. Appreciate you, man. See you tomorrow, man. Come stop by again. Join the Discord too, man. Take care. Shout out to Mehmed. Looks like he's a new subscriber. He dropped some comments. Appreciate anybody new to the community. We need to come up with some sort of like thing we do for new people when they're for real new, not these here today, gone tomorrow folks. Obviously, if you all are looking at the areas I routed, there are some imperfections, and that's because my routing sled is not super tight. So there is a little bit of sliding that happens between the from side to side. That's going to be good there, though. Yeah. I just want the shoulder to come down and rest against the side of the rail. That's the most important thing to me. I can't work on that side yet. Actually, this chisel feels really sharp here. This one's doing a really easy work of that. It's a couple of my larger ones I think need to be worked a little bit. And yes, I agree, you all. I need a sharpening jig because I can't do this sliding thing. And apparently, the grit paper I use gets worn really quickly. So I do think I should probably invest in some stones. Yeah, man, I love the sled. I love the sled. I took it down and I think I got it behind me right now. The one thing is this side right here looks like it's been readjusted. I think when I put screws through it, it kind of pulled it out. But I took the legs off so I could do this project here because with the legs, it wouldn't work for this project. So I took the legs off, and yeah, man, I do like the sled a lot. Like it's very useful. What I did was I oriented the piece away from the bench so that I had a straight line. Then I lined up the routing bit with the portion, and I just took it straight down. So yeah. The Japanese surrendered. Yeah, so the routing, this side right here, I think this side needs to be corrected a little bit. But other than that, man, I like the bottom is nice and flat. That's really the most important part for this sled. I didn't even expect that I was going to be able to use it on this project. I was like, oh, I got to make mortise and tenon, so why don't I use this sled to, repurpose the sled to cut these mortises in here. And I did, and it worked. At least in my opinion, it worked. We'll see if it works for real in the long term, for projects like that. It took some time building it, Oh, no, no, not that kind of sled. It's a different sled. It's more like a router jig, Hank. It's meant to, I think you missed my last live, but it's actually used to take your router. I'll show you right now. This kind of sled. Not the sled up on the wall. They're talking about the router sled. The router sled goes over a piece. You may know this, Hank, but this sled goes over a piece like this. Then your router goes in to the sled, right? And you can cut straight lines with it because the router is kind of fit in there tight, right? It slides back and forth so that your router is cutting straight lines. It has a little play side to side, but I kind of like that because it would stick otherwise. But that's what kind of a sled it is. It's a router jig, basically. Yeah, yeah. So let me show you something real quick while I have this from the other day, just to continue what we were talking about. I'm going to move this stuff aside and show Hank, since Hank's such a good watcher of the program, what we did the other day with the routing sled. Gandara said, when I started this project, did I go pick up all my lumber from the big box? No, there's a building supply facility about 20 miles away from here that has more specialized lumber They have more spruce, they have more southern yellow pine, and it's a better price and the cuts are better. So I went to a lumber supply place where I could sit around and go between the different lumber stacks and pick the best lumber. They have way more lumber than a big box store. Like it was a dedicated building facility with like refinished cabinet or unfinished cabinets, unfinished wood floors, unfinished yellow pine floors, unfinished lumber. So yeah. All right, this is our oak stump. He might be interested in this. Here's an oak stump that we have. We want to turn it into a table. The best way to do this, to level this out because of the grain direction, is to use a device or a jig called a routing sled. Using a level to do this work is not the wisest way to do it. So what we have done is we have built this sled with like 1x2s and 1x3s to make sure that it's nice and level here. And then this sled goes over the top of this piece like this. This is a bit tricky here though. This is tricky. I have to make sure that this goes on evenly too, so. All I'm doing right now is resetting it back to the way I had it for the oak stump. I might have to adjust some of those actual screws in the structure because it looks like some of that's why it's coming loose there. It's almost as if the wood warped. I mean, this board was straight when I put it on, so there's something wrong with that. But yeah, no, see, that's not straight. I'm actually going to try something a little different here. Because I didn't like the way the legs worked last time. I'm probably going to do something like this, like screw it down to two pieces. But last time, this one here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp it in place once I've got it level. Then I'll screw it in. Put couch sliders on the bottom of the sled. Definitely was thinking about that today when I was doing it. I was like, it definitely would be nice if it slid around a little bit. I might actually just use a clamp, because then I can get it level. So I got one side clamped on now. Put my level back up there and clamp the other side on. And we'll see if it works. I have to, we'll have to see if the clamps get in the way. I need to come up a little bit. There we go. The ADHD woodworking show where I go from one completely different project to another. All right, but no, this is important because we're talking about jigs and how they help us out. And I hate jigs, but I'm starting to be sold on them a little bit. Let me back the camera up so you all can see the jig in action. I'm going to take more material off this stump than I thought because it's oak and super heavy. So if you can hear me, I know the microphone's over there, but I'm going to take some more material off this because it's oak. So it's okay if it's down a little from where it was before. Oh yeah, that's perfect. All right, so y'all can see the whole stump and the router sled. Oh, okay. See you later, Hank. Take care of those chickens. Sure. Need my safety glasses because this is the kind of thing that throws stuff in your face. All right, here we go. To continue what we did the other day, just a brief demonstration. Though I'd rather have the router like this, so I have the button in front of me. The cord kind of gets in the way like that. Tuck this microphone so it's not super loud. Set it down to its lowest point, and then there's a switch I can use to lock it in place here. And y'all can see it's removing a lot of material. I'm going to take the camera and show you what's been routed there so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on there. You see that bit that's come out? And it should be perfectly level because I set the level against it. Now, one time, I don't know if you noticed, but it threw the router, and that's because the grain direction on the stump is all in every direction. So it's going to want to throw your tools, and that's why a jig like this is really important because a router will absolutely throw itself if you're using it free-handed. So the jig helps you from throwing your router when it hits a grain direction that's not where it's been. Using a level on this or using a planer on this is really difficult. I've done it, and I had my brother do it once, but it's hard to get it. All it's going to do is leave lumps and stuff. A router jig like this is going to take the right amount of material out from the entire thing, and it's a lot of material because this leaves a lot of oak shavings here. I'll do a couple more passes, then I got to go back to what I was doing, but I wanted to show you the router jig in use. Yeah, it's ADHD, and this is my disability kicking in here. And the reason that I just keep going is because it is super satisfying. Super satisfying. So I'm sorry. It is a regular square rounding bit. It's not a dovetail bit or nothing like that. We'll probably do a close up of it. I'll take a close up image of it and put it on my Discord. I'm so close to getting this side done that I almost just want to finish it, but I'll just do a couple passes here and stick to my word this time. But I can see, and if you're looking at the cameras, you probably can't see, but it is definitely taking off a lot of material and leaving it nice and flat, which is very difficult with stumps. So stumps have that odd grain, makes them really hard to work with. Let me move the microphone a little bit so that you all don't get your ears blasted out this time. And one more thing, it's important to remember that while the router is moving, you can't stop or it will burn the wood in place. Luckily, this is the bottom of my piece, so those little burnt circles aren't going to bother me. But you want to keep the router moving in there so that it doesn't cause friction to burn the wood. You just continue to go and keep switching directions until you finally get the thing flattened out. It takes a while. It's a lot of material. I'll probably continue at a later time, but just if you take a planer to these things, you have to do the same thing, and it wears your planer blades down. Hand planers won't work because it's going to be in a non-electric planer, a typical surface planer. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely super, it's like mowing the lawn and it's very satisfying. Let me show you what it looks like, you know, like when you do it, so you can kind of see. So you can see that side's been planed out pretty well. So this has to be rotated around and get all to that same level. But just like I said, it wants to throw the router. So you have to be careful that your router is in a good position. Don't start it with it over the workpiece. Start it with it away from the workpiece. And make sure that you don't stop in your motion, unless for safety reasons. You know, you want to keep your motion going because it will burn the wood if you stop. I got to get this spot right here, so it's going to be me rotating it. You can see a burnt spot right here. Let me show you. One right there. See that little burnt circle? That's where I stopped. That's where I stopped. That's what you want to avoid, that. But even that I probably can get out with some sand, really coarse sandpaper. I have no doubt it will be level when I'm finished, because once you set your level of your jig, it's basically going to take it down to the end of that, business end of that piece. The paint asked what kind of bit it was. Hold on, let me show you. This is actually the standard bit here that comes with the router. I have a couple other bits, but this is the bit right here. All right, it's probably hot. So it's cutting a cylinder or a straight, basically a straight line. If you have a dovetail one, it's going to have a flute out like this. I think I got one of those over there. It's going to cut down and into it, and it's going to, the top of it is going to be a thinner cut than the bottom. So excellent question. What kind of bit am I using? Definitely important information. Now I got to spend a bunch of time getting rid of all these oak shavings because I got mountains of oak shavings now in here. So stump table, you know, something that you can do as a beginner. It's a really good project. Yeah, it has. I can either put hairpin legs on it, or let me show you all something real quick. This is one of my favorite gadgets, though it is missing a blade, and it's unfortunate. This is actually a drill bit right here. What this drill bit does is it cuts cone shapes into the top of circular pieces of wood. It's a very expensive bit. You can probably find it on Amazon. You see I'm missing one of them, so it's going to be less effective. As this spins, it cuts the top like a pencil, right? And then you cut a Forstner bit hole in there, I think it's about 1 inch wide, and you can take your circular piece of wood and actually glue it up inside of a table. It'll make a little pencil tip for you to insert one piece of wood into another. Somebody, I think it was Haint. No, it wasn't. It was the Tally, the bushcraft stuff. This bit is perfect for like bushcraft stuff because you can turn branches into table legs and stuff like that. With a Forstner bit, all you have to do I hope you all heard all of that, but what you do is you basically have a Forstner bit and you have that. You take a circular piece of wood, and yeah, it is a cool tool. It definitely, some of the tools I have, I like to show to people. It's like show and tell because they're really fun, and that's definitely one of them. I appreciate everyone being here tonight. We went Bob Ross, that burn mark. Yeah, I will. It'll be a happy little accident. Remember, I'm trying to be the Bob Ross of woodworking, so I actually watch Bob Ross and take examples from him. Yeah. Back tomorrow. You'll be back tomorrow. Daniel, Ruiz. We had a bunch of friends here today. Haint, all friends of the show. And then we have a new friend of the program, Mohamed. I want to say his name right. New friend of the program. Oh, I saw Robert. Robert G, man. I wish I would have shouted out Robert G. Robert G, friend of the program. We were working on a ladder. So yeah, working on a ladder for the bunk bed. Shout out to Robert G. Sorry, I missed your comment. And then shout out to Mehmed. And there was one more, Vadim Volkov from Russia. Appreciate everyone being here today. Love you all. Make sure that you build something nice tonight. And we're going to keep building together. Check out my short, join the Discord, click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and have a good night.